Every time I come up here, I'm always kind of like really inspired by your kit, as in like your workshop. I've got bits of what you've got here. Yeah. But I go home and I say to Laura like, right, that's it. The garage is being sorted out. I'm having a full
building a tour van.
Building a tour van in the garage. Well, good morning everybody and welcome to yet another Sunday morning show. Slight difference this week from last week because last week I was in the beautiful Mallorca. Not to say that Torbay and Cayman Golf Club aren't beautiful, but the weather has just gone. I am squelching my way around this golf course today. I'm doing a compare of hybrid versus long iron out on the golf course. I'm also getting myself prepared for the Pro-Am that I'm going on, which actually when you're watching this video on the Sunday, I'll be flying out to Portugal for a Pro-Am with 3 subscribers from the channel who are probably watching this video right now. You can probably hear in the background the leaf blower. Every time I come out and film on a golf course, doesn't matter where I am in the world, there is either a mower, a leaf blower, a train, a car, a plane. So many noises, you don't get that tranquil golf feel of birds. I can't hear the sea and I can't hear the birds. I promise you, I'm not complaining about the noise on the golf course. I'm always out here early to get ahead of the golf. For me, greenkeepers are the unsung heroes of any golf club, and they should be praised. And certainly Christmas coming up. If any of you members out there want to give out some tips or maybe a case of beer, just go and drop it at the greenkeepers compound. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about my clubs, preparing myself for Portugal, Vilamora. A couple of clubs in my bag that I want to sort of have a mess about with. Well, actually, there's 3. So, what am I actually doing? Well, confidence is everything. As we know, I've talked about that. I am a confidence golfer. With the weather turning, it getting a little bit soft underfoot, I've just been struggling with my lob wedge. I want to try and get something with a little bit more bounce, and this is an old SM8 that I've got here, which is actually a 60-degree 14 bounce K grind, so a massive sole, plenty of bounce on it. Now there are limitations to using a club like this when it comes to maybe harder conditions, so links courses, firm bits of sand when you're in the bunker when it's been raining overnight. But I just want something that I can just feel like I can throw the club into the ball and know that it's going to come out. I don't want to throw the club into the ball and just watch that leading edge dig down and then catch it heavy. So obviously technique is important, but ultimately I'm working on my technique, but ultimately I still need confidence with it. So just by going into something with a little bit more bounce, a little bit more help, it's hopefully just going to help me with those short shots around the greens. Just want to show you this. This is actually the sole of the club, the bounce really taking effect, and it's almost like it's getting to the bottom pan of the actual bunker there, which is always the kind of compromise, I suppose, that you're going to get with something with a lot of bounce on it or a lot of sole. Now, I do have a little trick though that can help you get out of bunkers that are maybe a little bit compact this time of year, which overnight rain, things like that, you're going to get compact bunkers. Just a little tip for you. So instead of me wanting to kind of open the club face, which is kind of a natural thing that a lot of people do with bunker shots, I'm actually going to take this club and de-loft it slightly, almost like hood it slightly, so it's going to be played very much with a square face. This will just take away that back edge, allowing that handle just to lean forward slightly. Remember, I've got 60 degrees of loft here, so I've got plenty of loft, so it enables me just to be able to manipulate the club a little bit more. So handle just slightly forward, square face, and out. Easy as that. Now the next club that I want to talk to you about is my 52-degree wedge. This is a club that sometimes confuses me just a little bit when I'm out on the golf course. It's almost like I've got too many wedges to play around with. So I figured that as I'm heading over for a Pro-Am on golf courses that are probably playing a little bit longer, I maybe need a little bit more armoury at the top end of my golf bag. And if I think back to last year when I played in the Pro-Am at Vilamora, there was a few holes where I just needed something that kind of went around the sort of 215 yard mark on certainly a few of the par 3s. So what I thought about doing is taking out this 52-degree wedge, which does leave a bit of a gap between my pitching wedge and let's say my 56-degree wedge, but I kind of feel like a 3/4 pitching wedge kind of goes the distance that I need the 52 to go. So that kind of, I can work with that. So what I've done is I've gone up to see Joe the Pro, and we've built a 3-iron for me. And here it is. It's my old T200. I actually had this 3-iron made with a 4-iron shaft in it, and Joe has remade it back into a 3-iron shaft, taken this KBS kind of prototype shaft, made it to a 3-iron length and given me a go with it. So let's now head up to Joe the Pro's garage and see how we get on with making this club up. Right, I'm not going to bore you with the story because I've already done that off camera.
He's bored me.
I want to take that 3-iron head
Yep.
of the T200.
Yep.
And you got to remember that was made up for me, and you swung weight this perfectly for me.
Yeah. Swung weight or swing weighted?
I'm going to go swung weight.
Swung weight, all right.
Is it swing? Is it not swung weight? Swung weight? Swing weight? You swing weighted. You swung weight. Comment down below. What do you think it is? Swung weight or swing weighted? You swung weight that for me to fit into my old setup.
Yeah, you wanted it 4-iron length, didn't you? You wanted it to feel like a strong, punchy 4-iron, basically.
Correct.
I think was the spec. So we cut it down, we got it to the correct length to match in, 1/2 inch longer than your 5-iron.
Yeah.
Swing weighted it.
Yes.
To match in at D2.
Yeah.
But now things have changed, you've got a new set, and you want it to do a different job, don't you? You want it to be back to a 3-iron.
So I've got the 4-iron in the new T200, okay? But what my thoughts are, is I'm thinking about taking my 52-degree wedge out.
Yeah.
Because I've now got a pitching wedge and a sand wedge. And I'm happy to sort of manipulate my pitching wedge because I've put a Vokey...
This is the set wedge, isn't it?
No, it's the Vokey,
okay.
a Vokey 46-degree wedge, and I feel like I can manipulate that quite nicely. So that kind of takes the 52 out of play.
Yeah.
Then gives me the opportunity to put something in at the top, which is where I feel like I need as much help as I can. The gap between my 4-iron and my 5-wood is just too big.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put in like a 3-iron, but not just any 3-iron. I need some help. And also, this one I used to hit really well, and I've got a lot of confidence with it.
Yeah.
So basically what I want is that 3-iron made to a 3-iron length, swing weighted up perfectly to my set.
Yeah.
But with a shaft that is obviously, we can't just extend that one. So I want to get a different shaft in it.
Cool. Yeah, we can do that, no problem whatsoever.
One of these things of don't try this at home, isn't it? Because I see you there with, yeah, I mean, you've done that many, many times, obviously. But, you know, people with torches flying around in their garage, whipping off heads, you know, then actually grabbing the head with your hand.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be lying if I said I hadn't done that once or twice, but you think once you've done it a couple of times, you don't do it again. Right, fortunately, this is good news. The tip weight, as I built it so well, has now stayed in the shaft rather than sometimes the tip weight falls out, sticks in the bottom of the head, and it's a real pain to get out. But it's all come out beautifully in one piece, which is great. So next job is to clean out this hosel. So there's a load of, I don't know if you can see it, there's a load of old glue, what we put in, obviously keeping it in there. So we need that nice and clean so the new stuff adheres to it. So we've got some drill bits. Still a bit of excess glue in there, so I'm just going to heat into the hosel a bit just to loosen that up. It's just sitting at the bottom of the hosel, we need to get it all out so the shaft goes in the correct length. Just need a bit more. It's the trouble when you do a job well done.
Too well.
Undoing it is difficult.
Is that because you use excessive amounts of glue, or?
Not excessive, just some people scrimp, don't they, because it's expensive, but if you want...
you want it to stay on.
Yeah, and quite often a lot of people wouldn't even notice what was just at the bottom there. People would just glue the shaft in on top of that. It's not a disaster, but it won't play as it's designed to. These shafts are designed to be inserted a certain length, and that's how they play their characteristics of flex and bend profile. All of a sudden, if you only partially insert, it can be a little less stable, and in terms of just staying on, but it will certainly play a slightly different bend profile as well. There we go. So the difficulty here You can plug graphite for additional swing weight. I don't have any graphite plugs because I'm technically not building for a living, and I rarely change the swing weight on graphite. So
your lead tape?
We're gonna be a little bit at the mercy. You never know. Fingers crossed. If we just build this, because the weight of the shaft and the length we're going to build it to is relatively standard, so there's a good chance it's going to come out pretty much where we need it to swing weight, because the rest of your stuff is relatively standard in that regard. If we do need to build it up, however, at all in swing weight, then yeah, we could be just going the old-fashioned route of just a little bit of self-adhesive lead tape across the back, just to add a couple of swing weight points if necessary. Fingers crossed it won't come to that, because it can look a little. I'm a bit OCD with stuff like that, so it can look a bit messy.
With all this talk about swing weights and adding weight here and this, that and the other, like obviously centre of gravity points, CG,
yep,
on the head and how the head's supposed to be designed and played, does that affect it though if you put a bit of weight, like let's say you put a weight at this top rail area, will that push the CG just a little bit higher?
Any change you make is cause and effect. Any change you make will have some kind of an effect. Generally speaking, tip weights, you'd think obviously if you're putting more weight in a hosel,
yeah,
you're moving CG a little bit more this way, it's negligible, it's pretty tight. You'd have to use a fair amount of lead tape or a pretty hefty tip weight to really move CG much. You have to use a lot of, I mean, the highest tip weight I've got in there is 10 grams, I think you'd have to be using.
Yeah.
I mean, you may notice 10 grams, and I very rarely use that because you very rarely have to butcher a club by 10 grams of tip weight, so that's kind of like an emergency thing. So yeah, it scales, and it undoubtedly, I can't say it wouldn't have an effect, but it'll be so negligible you wouldn't notice. And for me, you've got to prioritise, you've got to decide whether what's more important. If having something that's 4 swing weights too heavy for you that you can't square up and hit properly, well, if you can get the correct swing weight that allows you to find a strike and hit some good shots, slightly moving the CG is probably...
And actually for me, I just looking at this head, like obviously I want it to go up in the air, I want it to launch because it's a 3-iron.
Yeah.
You know, even putting it a little bit down the bottom there might just push that CG just a little bit lower and help me push it up.
You can tell a lot of things. Back in the day when there was less tip weights and there was a lot of lead tape going around, you could almost tell the story of a golfer by looking at where the lead tape was on their club. You'd see something on the toe, oh, this guy hooks it, I'll keep an eye on that. Or someone would have like a 1-iron with a load of lead tape at the top at the back there. They're trying to move CG high and keep the ball down. So you could almost read a player's game by what they've done with their lead tape, really. Yeah, we're going to need to weight it up, mate. Okay.
With a ferrule on the end, will that make any difference at all?
A little bit, yeah, but only about quarter of a swing weight.
Right.
So it's at D2 now, but it's long. Just over a quarter of an inch, which is going to make it a wee bit light. What we can do is we can glue, we can build it, take grip off, or are you saving grip?
How much longer is that?
So we need this to be a cut length of 39 inches. It's currently a cut length just over 39.25.
So what I'm saying is leave it as is.
Okay.
Let me experiment with it in that length, because then ultimately being slightly longer, it's going to give me maybe a bit more swing speed.
Yeah.
Might just get me out there that little bit more, and then I can always I'd rather rein it in rather than have to build it back up again. I'd rather build it to that spec.
Yeah, so it's sitting in a good swing weight point, so it'll just be a little bit marginally over length for you, and we're talking quarter of an inch here, so it's not masses. Might bridge that gap a little bit better, sits in a good swing weight point for you, so it actually might be a good experiment then. If it's not working at that length for you, we whip the grip off,
cut it down
chop
a bit.
it to the length to fit in with the set, add a bit of lead tape to the head to re-swing weight it to fit into the set, and then you're at your final point. But it might not come to that if you like how it.
I like the fact of let's leave it as is, let me experiment with it, and this is what would happen on a tour van, wouldn't it? You know, you'd send it out, we go and smack it on the range, get some numbers with it, get a feel for it, and then straight back in. Is that work? Does that not work?
If you speak to some of the tour fitters, they'll say, you know, guys will just put a club down. Some of them won't hit a shot with it and go, yeah, no, this doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, doesn't sit right. Back to the van, try something again. If you're lucky, they'll get to the point where you go, yeah, okay, hit a couple. No, don't like that. It's too heavy, too light. Yeah. And it's such an evolving process. Obviously, consumer market doesn't really have that facility to be chopping and changing heads and coming back and forth and have a fitter the whole day. But it does give you some insight into how difficult getting a fitting right is in one go, really. It's an evolving process. I saw Tyrrell Hatton having a fitting once. I worked on the TaylorMade, had a bit of work experience on the TaylorMade tour van and British Masters. years ago they were trying to get him into a TaylorMade drive. I think it was M1, so I'll tell you what year that was. Can't think. And the guy I was speaking to who was fitting him said he'd been fitting him for, I think it was 3 months now. They'd been back and forth trying this, talking about spin rates, talking about misses he didn't want to see, talking about a pattern he wanted, what feel, what sound he wanted. So they put hot melt in the head to change that. So it was like it was a 3-month fitting, and ultimately they still didn't even get him in it. He stayed in his ping driver that he loved. So it's 3 months of work, didn't quite get him in it. So it's hard work. So we're going to glue it now. So we decided we're going to build that slightly over length. So just put a bit of tape down. This is a Scotch Weld 2-part epoxy. So it comes out in equal measures. You need to mix it up rather well. This is really important that you get it mixed properly, because each part activates the other part. So this helps the ferrule stick on. So if you ever had a ferrule that slips up the shaft, it's just a bit annoying and doesn't look great.
Yeah, people think the head's falling off, but it's not, is it?
No, ferrule can just slip away from the head. So if you get a bit of glue under there, it really does help that process. So I'll give that a little clean first, actually, just to make sure the excess on the top doesn't set at all. So there's a little bit of excess came out there. So there's a bit of glue under that ferrule now, gives it a good chance of staying in place. Decent scoop into the head, try and coat the whole of the inside of the head. Again, don't want any air gaps, don't want anything. We can sort that out in a second if there is, just by twisting the head around. Get a bit of remainder here. Coat the shaft. Bit on top to seat it. Head on. Give it a little spin to make sure the glue is coated throughout the shaft. Line up the graphics. We'll get into that a little bit more. Good tap on the ground to make sure the head's seated properly. Always have some tissue handy because it's messy stuff, this. Clean up the excess glue from around the ferrule. But just don't have to be too cautious on this just yet. Just get any excess off, because we're going to turn the ferrule down once it's dry and polish it up with acetone, so it's just getting any serious excess off. I always prefer not putting a shaft in with a grip on, because you've got to do this extra step of making sure the grip's perfectly lined up. If a shaft goes in without a grip, obviously you can just put the club head in there, line it up and just slip the grip on, so it's easy, but just a slightly extra step. Right, that's seated really well, no wobble, it's a really nice tight fit. So next procedure will be let this dry for half an hour or so, come back in, we'll turn the ferrule down so this blends perfectly into the hosel here, shine it up, and then we've got a nice fresh 3-iron. So whilst we're waiting for the 3-iron to dry up, we've actually got, you right?
Yes, yeah, I'm alright.
We've actually got something quite cool, haven't we? We have. This is the putter that you tasked us with refurbing, a little DH logo in there. So we're going to slot it onto a nice KBS CT Tour putter shaft. I'm going to have a nice murdered out
black on black
styler, aren't we?
So the story behind this head is, during lockdown, I'd had a couple of glasses of wine and I was on eBay, very bored, at home, and found a Scotty Cameron putter, this shape that I really, really like. It's the 62 model, is that what it is? Model number 3?
Circa 62.
Circa 62, yeah. Model number 3 is what it is. Really love the look of this head. So I put a cheeky bid in of £100 and I won it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I won it on eBay, and when it came to me, it arrived in the post and the box was bent in half. Literally, it was bent in half. So opened it all up, and as you would expect, the shaft itself literally snapped in half. So I contacted the guy that sold it to me, and I said, look, I took a few photos, sent it over to him, and he said, don't worry, no problem, I'll claim the money back from the transport company, you keep the putter and I'll refund you the £100. So I've now got this putter for nothing.
Free Scotty Cameron.
A free Scotty Cameron, and then Joe the Pro has kindly had it all done and tidied up for me, put my little logo, or little DH logo on the toe there. So there we have, and now he's putting on this nice shaft to go on it.
Some friend. Just give it a little tap.
Beautiful.
I think that's pretty good. I might keep this. Right, so 3 irons now dry.
How long does that take to dry, Joe?
Well, I mean, on the packet it says 5 or 6 minutes. It's really quite quick drying
It's a quick
stuff.
drying job.
But I just always think with golf clubs, just
give them a bit of extra time.
Give them a bit more, give them a bit more. So it's been about half an hour since we glued this. So now I don't know if you can pick it up on here. If you've got against the white wall, there's a slight lip from here to the ferrule. So we want to just blend this ferrule in so it sits really nice, and then shine it up so it looks pretty. So we've got a ferrule prep machine here. So we slot the 3 iron in.
It's like a sanding belt.
Yeah, just a little sanding belt, and gives us a little arm here to rest it so we can get it dead right angles. Once it goes on, it's just about keeping it moving, so constant pressure. There's a little bit of grain in that now. I mean, this is finicky, it's not like to do with performance this is just making it look nice.
Yeah.
And finished well. A little bit of steel wool. There's a bit of grain in there now. You get a little bit of the mess that was off on the hosel here.
Just tidies it up.
That smooths it out a bit. That's the second step. And then the final step is a little bit of acetone, which just shines up the ferrule and makes it look really pretty. So it's just a little dab onto a piece of tissue. Rest it on there.
Acetone's a little bit like the stuff they use to take nail varnish off, isn't it?
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
A little spin on that, so you can see some of the excess comes off there. And then it's, can you get how glossy that is?
I can just about catch that.
Beautifully finished ferrule, so that's nice. That's a nice looking 3 iron, that. Exactly where we wanted it, D2. Marginally over length, so it'll be interesting to see how that blends in the set, and we've got the option to chop it and reweight it if needs be. Work in progress.
Prototype. What's the prototype bit on there?
It was initially as prototype, and they just brought it to market because it was so popular on tour.
Okay.
Really nice, simple looking shaft, matte black, lovely red band. Stick a prototype word on there, it sounds cooler, doesn't it?
I really like the fact that it's an X in there.
Yeah.
Because do you remember my old 5-wood, the TaylorMade 5-wood?
I do.
That was an X. Like randomly an X, because I'm not used to having X flexes.
Flex is subjective as well, though. I mean, this is a lighter overall weight than the rest of your sets. You've got the Modus 120s in there.
Yes.
So you've got 105 in here. And so flex can go hand in hand with weight. So a lighter weight and a slightly more pokier flex, if you like, could well be a good combo. Again, like I said, we're just sort of spitballing here. We're going work in progress, a few experiments, and we'll get to a good answer eventually.
Well, thank you, Joe. I'm going to take it straight to the range.
Enjoy.
And here we are in the studio. Might be a bit echoey in here. Got the club in hand. Now, a couple of things that I have noticed with this club is obviously being it's slightly longer, I am coming a little bit toe up, so it is something that I need to address. However, these are the numbers that I've kind of been getting with it. So if we look up here, we've got my 4 iron, and these are my averages, my 4 iron, 128 ball speed, nearly 129. If you compare that to this 3 iron, I'm getting 134 ball speed, so just a little bit hotter. And then with my 5-wood, I'm down here at 142. So some good numbers, a good gapping numbers from that point. Launch-wise, 14.9 with my 4 iron compared to 13.4 with that 3 iron. So again, you expect that to see that kind of come out a little bit lower. And then spin-wise, again, really tying in nicely. So 4.6 with the spin with the 4 iron compared to 4,000 that I'm getting with the 3 iron. So should get it out there just a little bit further. And then distance-wise, which is the important one, I'm getting 193 on an average carry with my 4 iron. And then with that 5-wood, 221 average carry with that 5-wood. So you can see there from 193 to then 221 is a huge gap. And this is where this 3 iron comes in quite nicely at 206 yards on an average carry. So getting pretty good numbers from what I'm getting in the studio. And the only thing that I need to just double check on now is the lie angle, get that right, because I was coming in about 2 up. And you can see from the numbers that I'm getting over there, I'm 10 yards left on an average, which with my 4 iron, I'm averaging 2 degrees or 2 yards right, and then my 5 wood I'm pretty much on the line. So yeah, just by me moving that lie angle just a little bit flatter, hopefully just going to just square that club up a little bit easier, keep me on the straight and narrow. So all in all, feels good. I'm going to take it away with me to Portugal. I'm also going to report back. I'm going to film as much as I can over in Portugal to give you a bit of an insight into what each day holds for not just for me, but just for the team as well. So it'll be a bit of a fly on the wall kind of experience when we're out there in Portugal. And I'm also going to do a little bit of a video around my preparation. I've shown you a little bit of it in today, but I'm going to talk to you about how I've kind of prepared myself to get out to Portugal, because it's the first time I've competed for some time, so I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think that's it for this Sunday morning show. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again. Well, I'll see you again very soon.